Welcome to the TenNet Indigenous Wisdom Research Center. I am your host, author Tenet Setegn. In this broadcast series, we explore the profound mysteries within our research. Ethiopian esoteric philosophy and alchemy. Our journey into channeling hidden wisdom begins now.
What if I told you that out of the 91 different types of life forms that are just thriving in the universe right now, humans are just one of 4 that actually possess a physical body?
It's quite the reality check.
It really is. I mean, I want you to just sit with that for a second. We walk around, acting like we own reality, but what if we're just a tiny, really dense fraction of a much wilder, mostly invisible ecosystem?
Yeah, the math on that is, well, it's humbling, to say the least.
Totally humbling. So today, we're asking you to completely scrap your Western model of physics, of biology, cosmology, all of it. Throw out the rigid schematics of atoms and voids, because we are going on a deep dive into an architectural blueprint of reality that is honestly going to completely rewire how you think about existence.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the absolute definition of a paradigm shift. If you try to read this cosmological blueprint with the same tools you use to, measure a 2x4 or even a standard particle accelerator, you are going to find yourself entirely lost.
Right. Which is exactly why I'm so excited to unpack this. Today, we're exploring the esoteric Ethiopian philosophy known as TenNet research.
Specifically, we're looking through the analytical works of author Tenet Seaton.
Yes, exactly. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of this, we really need to understand what this source material actually is. Because, I mean, this isn't just a collection of folk tales, right?
No, not at all. Tenet research is a highly sophisticated Indigenous Ethiopian cosmological framework. It's incredibly precise.
Right.
What Tenet Seaton has done is synthesize these, deeply esoteric traditions into a rigorous philosophical analysis of how reality is actually constructed.
Almost like an engineering schematic.
That's a great way to put it. It is an ancient system passed down through generations that treats existence not as some, random accident, but as a meticulously organized structure. It outlines the mechanics of the universe with mathematical precision.
Okay, and our mission today takes us straight up to the penthouse of that structure, so to speak, because the philosophy divides existence into 3 realms.
Right, the 3 distinct worlds.
Yeah, so there's the earthly world, where we are right now, then there's a transitional layer called the hidden earthly world, and finally the celestial world.
Or, in the original language, Samayat Elam.
Samayat Elam. Got it. And we're spending this entire deep dive parked right up there in the celestial world to examine what this system calls the 10 great creations.
And, those 10 creations aren't just thrown into some random list. They are elegantly categorized into 3 foundational groups.
Sure.
The hidden, the living, and the material. And mathematically, it's very neat. It breaks down to 3 hidden creations plus 3 living creations plus 4 material creations.
So 3 plus 3 plus 4.
Exactly.
Right.
3 plus 3 plus 4 equals the 10 fundamental building blocks of the celestial world.
Okay, so if we're building a universe from scratch, according to this indigenous knowledge, we clearly can't start with physical stuff.
No physical matter yet.
Right. We have to start with the invisible framework. So the first category is called Sewuran, which translates to the hidden. And there are 3 creations here, right? Time, force, and life.
Yes, and we need to be very, very precise with how TenNet research defines these, because it's not exactly how we use those words every day.
Okay, walk us through it.
So time is defined as the sequence. Life is the intangible essence of experience. And force, now this is where it gets interesting. The source material treats force as a unified concept encompassing force, energy, and mass, all as one single idea. It's the potential for action.
Okay, I have to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because my high school physics teacher is practically screaming in my head right now.
I can imagine.
Right. Because Western science treats mass as a physical property, energy as like a capacity to do work, and force as an interaction. We keep them in these totally separate boxes mostly. I mean, E equals mc squared, links mass and energy, sure, but lumping them all together as one single hidden creation. Let me bridge the gap here.
Well, think about it from the perspective of pure mechanics before matter even exists.
Okay.
In this cosmology, force, energy, and mass are just different states of the exact same invisible currency. You cannot have mass without the energy binding it, right?
Yeah.
And you cannot have energy without the force directing it. It's a unified field of potential. By grouping them, this philosophy is actually predicting a highly unified view of physics centuries before modern string theorists even started looking for a unified field theory.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. So time, force, and life are the prerequisites. Let me try an analogy here to see if I'm getting this.
Go for it.
Are these three hidden creations basically the operating system of the cosmos, like the invisible code of a video game that has to be running in the background? So the clock is time, the physics engine is force, and the player spawning logic is life. And all that has to run before any characters or landscapes can even render on the screen.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it, actually.
Really?
Yeah. If you take away the clock, the game is completely frozen. If you take away the physics engine, nothing can interact. Things just clip through each other or sit there. And if you take away the spawning logic left, you just have an empty, sterile server.
A ghost town.
Exactly. You can't touch the code. You can't, hold time or force in your hands. But without them, there is no reality. They are the invisible architecture.
Okay, but an operating system running in an empty void isn't much of a universe. The code needs avatars.
It needs inhabitants, yes.
Which leads us directly into the second category of the 10 great creations, the living creations, or Hyawan.
Right. And since we have 3 hidden creations, we have 3 groups of living creations to match.
The symmetry is so satisfying. Let's start with the first group then. The Becker Hyawan, or the first living?
So the source material describes these first living as the hands of wisdom or the hands of divinity.
Hands of divinity, okay.
Yeah. There are exactly 7 tribes of them, and if you look at various religious and esoteric texts around the world, these entities are most commonly represented as angels.
Oh, okay, angels.
But their function in 10net research it's very mechanical. It's not just playing harps. Their primary job is to manage the transition of life and cosmic order from the celestial world down through the hidden earthly world and finally to us.
So they're like cosmic middle managers, just, pushing divine paperwork down the chain of command.
Well, I wouldn't use the term middle managers.
No.
Because that implies, bureaucracy. It's much more fundamental than that. Think of them as massive transformers in an electrical grid.
Oh, like stepping down the voltage.
Precisely. The energy and the intent of the celestial world are way too vast, too intense to directly interface with the dense, muddy reality of the earthly world.
It would just fry the system.
Exactly. It would blow the circuits. So the 7 tribes of the first living act as facilitators. They step down that cosmic voltage so that life can safely cascade into the lower realms.
A biological electrical grid. That makes so much more sense than just viewing them as winged messengers.
It's a very practical cosmology.
It really is. So that's the first living group. Now, the second group is where I found myself just completely surprised when I was reading the notes.
The flora.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Hyawan.
Yeah.
Botanical Creations flora. Plants get their own top-tier category in the celestial architecture.
They absolutely do, and Tenet-Settine's analysis highlights a very specific mathematical classification here, which is fascinating. The philosophy doesn't just say there are 5 types of celestial flora, it explicitly defines them as a 4+1 classification.
Right. I saw that and immediately wondered why.
Yeah.
Because, mathematically 4+1 is just 5. Why go out of the way to separate them into 4 and 1?
Because it establishes a profound boundary between what is sacred and what is shared.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, the reason it's a 4+1 split is that 4 categories of this celestial flora were stepped down through those realms we just talked about.
Through the transformer angels.
Right. They transition into the earthly world. So the trees, the plants, the crops that you and I interact with every day, those are the dense physical descendants of those 4 celestial categories.
Wow. Okay, and the +1.
That one specific category of flora never left the celestial world. It remained strictly in the highest realm, totally unshared with the lower worlds, to serve a singular ultimate purpose.
Which is?
To act as the creator's throne.
A throne made of celestial flora. That is such a vivid image. But, why flora? Why not a throne of gold or, fire or pure light?
Because flora represents rooted, sustaining life. By sitting on a throne of flora, it implies that the source of all existence is intimately connected to growth, nourishment, and organic structure.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It really is. The 4 represents the life shared with us, and the 1 is the unshared origin that supports divinity itself. It keeps the mundane and the divine fundamentally linked through this concept of nature.
Man, that completely recontextualizes how I look at a forest. It's not just a collection of wood and leaves. It's like a fractal reflection of the highest architecture.
Exactly. You're looking at a step-down version of the celestial order.
So we have the first living acting as transformers, and the 4+1 flora providing the organic structure. That brings us to the third group of the living, the Timbree Hyawan, or the unified living.
Now, this is perhaps the most complex category because this is where we finally show up.
Our grand entrance.
Right. The unified living includes humans, animals, wild beasts, birds, but also a vast array of spirits. And the defining characteristic of this group, according to the cosmology, is that these beings are capable of merging, binding, or even swallowing one another.
Okay, I need you to explain that, because when I hear that spirits are swallowing each other, it sounds like some sort of, I don't know, terrifying astral cannibalism. What is the actual philosophical mechanism at play here?
I get that. But it's not cannibalism. It's a profound synthesis. In the system, spiritual and life energy isn't fixed in these impenetrable containers. It operates on a very fluid hierarchy.
Okay.
So when the text talks about swallowing or binding, it just means that denser, more complex forces can consume or integrate lighter, simpler forces.
Oh, like a merger?
Exactly. A
Yeah.
human consciousness, for example, might not be a single monolithic entity, but a composite. You are a binding together of various biological, spiritual, and earthly forces that have merged to create a complex vessel.
So we're basically a unified collective within ourselves, sitting inside a larger unified collective.
That's a great way to put it.
Which brings me back to that mind-bending statistic I mentioned at the very beginning of the deep dive. In this blueprint, how many distinct tribes make up this unified living category?
There are exactly 91 distinct tribes mapped out in the celestial blueprint.
91. And here is where the human ego takes a massive hit, right? Because out of those 91 tribes of unified life, only 4 humans, domestic animals, wild beasts, and birds walk our earthly realm with physical, tangible bodies.
Just 4 out of 91.
Doing the math, that leaves 87 tribes of life forms that are just
What?
floating around us.
Interacting within the hidden earthly and celestial realms, yes. They are completely bypassing our physical spectrum. They just don't need a physical body constructed of dense earthly matter to exist, to experience life, or to exert force.
It's incredibly humbling. Like,
Yeah.
we build our entire scientific paradigm around what we can see and touch, right?
Right.
We assume that physical matter is the default state of life. But 10net research argues that physical bodies are actually the rare exception. Humanity is just a highly specific, dense manifestation of a much grander, largely unseen ecosystem.
But it really forces you to realize that our earthly perspective is, well, essentially looking through a pinhole at a panoramic reality.
Yeah, a pinhole. Which perfectly transitions us into the final structural requirement of this universe.
The material.
Exactly. Because we have the invisible physics running the code: time, force, life. We have the living actors, the angels, the flora, the 91 tribes. But right now, they're all just floating in a conceptual void.
They need a container, right? A stage.
They do. And that brings us to the final category, which completes our 10 great creations. This is the Guzan, or the material realm. And there are 4 creations in this final group.
And the very first one immediately challenges Western physics again. The first material creation is light, darkness, and ray, all grouped as one single thing.
Yes, as a unified spectrum.
Now, I have to push back here on behalf of the listener. In standard physics, light is a photon. It's a tangible thing. Darkness is literally just the absence of those photons. How does this Ethiopian cosmology justify treating darkness as an actual material creation?
Well, because it does not view darkness as a mere absence or a void.
It doesn't. No. In 10net research, light, darkness, and ray are interwoven as a single spectrum of visual materiality. Think of darkness as the canvas.
Okay, the canvas.
Right. A canvas isn't the absence of paint. It's the fundamental material required for the paint to be seen in the first place. Where there is darkness, the potential for light exists. And where light strikes, rays emanate. They aren't opposing forces at war. They're an interdependent package.
So they need each other.
Exactly. You cannot have the geometry of the physical world without the substantive matrix of darkness.
A substantive matrix.
Yeah.
The canvas, not the void. Actually, I really like that. It gives weight to the shadows. Okay, so that's the first material. The second one feels a bit more familiar to most people, the 4 elements.
Earth, water, and wind. Yes.
Right.
These are the fundamental, tangible building blocks. Everything physical that gets constructed in the lower realms uses these 4 materials as its dense base. They are the clay.
Standard issue cosmic building blocks. Okay, so we have the lighting rig with light and darkness. We have the clay with the elements. What is the third material creation?
The third is the 12 celestial houses, or Beat Samayat. You noted earlier that all these beings need a container, a place to reside.
Right.
Well, in the celestial world, there are 12 grand architectural dwelling places for the living creations.
12 houses, but let's contextualize this for us humans. We live on a giant rock called Earth. Is Earth one of those 12 houses?
No, it isn't.
It's not.
And this is where the philosophy actually parallels some of the most cutting-edge theories in modern physics, like the multiverse or simulation theory.
Oh, really? How so?
Because the Earth we live on, this dense sphere made of fire, earth, water, and wind, is merely a reflection. It's a lower realm counterpart modeled directly after just one of those 12 celestial houses.
Oh my God, I'm struggling to even picture the scale of that. You're saying every mountain, every ocean, the entire history of our planet is just a dense physical copy of one single room in a 12-room celestial mansion.
Precisely. And a physical copy is a great way to put it, because the original celestial house isn't made of dirt and water.
Right, it's celestial.
It's made of finer, hidden cosmic geometry. We are living in the dense, earthly echo of that higher architecture.
Wow. It makes you wonder what is going on in the other 11 houses. The sheer magnitude is staggering.
It truly is.
Okay, my mind is thoroughly expanded, but we have one piece left. Let's tally it up. We have light and darkness, the 4 elements, and the 12 celestial houses. That's 9 creations total.
3 hidden, 3 living, 3 materials so far.
Right. We need the final 4th material creation to hit our perfect 10.
And this 10th creation is the engine of the entire system. It is arguably the most dynamic and complex concept Tennant analyzes. It is called Mogid, which translates to waves.
Waves. But obviously, in this context, we aren't talking about water hitting a beach.
Oh, no, definitely not.
We're talking about the fundamental motion of the universe itself.
Exactly. Think about it. You have the physics, the beings, the building blocks, and the houses. But without Mogid, the entire blueprint would just be a static image. It would be frozen.
A paused game.
Yes. Margid provides the cosmic motion, and the structure of these waves is mapped out with intense geometric precision. The philosophy states that waves possess 7 faces, or branches.
Walk me through the mechanics of these 7 faces, because this is where the physics of this cosmology gets really, really unique.
Okay, so the first 4 of these faces act as a gathering force. Think of them as pulling creations together, drawing matter, energy, and life toward a center point.
Like a stabilizing, unifying pressure.
Yes.
Very much like gravity pulling mass into a star or a planet.
Similar in function, yes. But here's the catch. A universe that only pulls inward eventually crushes itself.
Right, it would just collapse into a black hole.
Exactly. So you have the other 3 faces, while the first 4 are pulling inward, creating that dense center. The remaining 3 faces are actively rotating the entire system in a counterclockwise direction.
Okay, let me visualize this. We have tension. 4 faces pulling in, 3 faces spinning it around. Now, when you say rotating, my Western brain immediately thinks of an orbit, like a flat circle, a racetrack, or a spinning record.
That's the natural assumption.
But the source material is very specific about this shape, isn't it? It says the wave doesn't close on itself.
That is the critical distinction. If the universe moved in a flat circle, reality would just be an infinite loop. History repeating itself forever in a stagnant doom loop. You would end up exactly where you started.
Like Groundhog Day.
Right. But Mogid doesn't do that. Because of the tension between the 4 gathering forces and the 3 rotating forces, the motion is actively pushed upward.
Oh, like a spring.
Yes. A spiral staircase is the perfect analogy. It is a spring-like upward spiral motion. Mogid ensures that the celestial world, and by extension our reflection of it, is never stagnant.
It's always moving up.
It is a system of constant, elevating, dynamic movement. Even if you come back around to what looks like the same side of the spiral, same historical era, or even the same personal mistake, you are fundamentally higher up on the staircase than you were before.
Because you've been elevated by the very physics of the universe. Man, that tension literally forces evolution. It forces growth. That is an incredibly optimistic cosmological model.
It really is.
It means progression isn't just some, human social concept. It's baked into the literal mechanical waves of reality.
It implies that the unseen forces aren't just holding us in place so we can survive. They are actively carrying the entire 12-house architecture to a higher state of existence.
Wow. Okay, we have reached the top of the structure. Let's look down at the whole blueprint, because the mathematical elegance of TenNet research is just, it's stunning.
It's a masterpiece of cosmological thought.
It really is. We set out to map the celestial world, the Samayat Alam.
And we found a system where absolutely nothing is arbitrary.
Nothing. We started with the 3 hidden creations: time, force, and life. The invisible operating system.
Right.
Then we populated it with the 3 living creations: the 7 tribes of angels stepping down the power, the 4+1 celestial floor providing the organic throne, and the 91 tribes of unified life, only 4 of which have physical bodies.
Incredible to think about.
And finally, we built the stage with the 4 material creations: the interdependent spectrum of light and darkness, the 4 elements, the 12 celestial houses, and finally, Megagged the upward spiraling waves, 3 + 3 + 4, the 10 great creations.
It's a brilliantly cohesive framework, and examining it really demonstrates why we must engage with diverse indigenous knowledge systems.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, modern empirical sciences is incredibly useful, obviously, but it often isolates variables. It separates the observer from the observed. This Ethiopian cosmology, synthesized so beautifully by Tenet Sitain, does the exact opposite.
It ties it all together.
It offers a vocabulary where physics, biology, and spirituality are just different mechanical layers of the exact same unified machine.
It gives you a much wider lens on reality, especially the idea of our place within it. I keep coming back to the humility of it all.
The pinhole effect we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, to realize that your physical body is an exception to the cosmic rule of the 91 tribes, and that your entire planet is just a dense echo of one single celestial room.
It shrinks the ego, for sure, but I think it also elevates your purpose, because you aren't separate from the machine. You're actively participating in it. And that actually leaves us with a highly practical, provocative implication to consider.
I am ready. What is the takeaway for the listener walking around in their daily life?
Well, in this philosophy, the entire system, every spirit, every element, every celestial house is governed by Mogid.
The upward wave.
Right, that relentless wave pushing everything in a constant elevating spiral. So think about the blueprint of your own existence. When you feel stuck in your daily routines, when you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, making the same mistakes, are you actually trapped in a flat circle?
Yeah.
Or even if you can't see the invisible architecture pushing you, are you actually part of that cosmic upward spiral?